something else is being said here about how the entire Platonic project is a poetic project. And we know from Plato's seventh letter that he never wrote down his actual doctrine. He always hides behind these dramatic personae in his dialogues. And he says in the seventh letter, you know, if anyone ever tells you that they've read or studied in written form the doctrine of Plato, they're talking nonsense, because no such doctrine exists or ever will.
So what you're suggesting here is that although Plato is thought of as the archetypal philosopher of eternal truths that are outside of space and time, he's really more of a postmodernist.
His doctrine is self-deconstructing, and it seems to have been intended to be self-deconstructing over the course of history, which is an incredibly diabolical idea. In effect, I'm arguing that Plato is a kind of joker, and you know, that brings to mind the narrative that we're given in The Dark Knight, popular film, contemporary film that I think epitomizes the idea of the Platonic guardian. Batman is referred to in that film as the guardian of Gotham, and I've written another essay that also appears in Lovers of Sophia, Gotham Guardian, where I raise the question of how different Batman really is from the Joker, because when the Joker forces Bruce Wayne and Commissioner Gordon to lie to the population of Gotham, to make them believe that Harvey Dent was actually killed, that their White Knight, the district attorney who stood for putting the mob out of business and cleaning up Gotham, died as that White Knight and champion of justice.
Because in actuality, as I recall the story, Harvey Dent becomes maimed and then seeks revenge, and he becomes a bitter villain.
Yeah, he commits all these vengeance murders as Two-Face, a monster who the Joker has turned him into, to prove the point that if the people of Gotham were to see that hero of theirs, that White Knight, torn down, they would lose all hope. They would despair and become nihilists. This was the Joker's trying to accomplish, this act of deconstruction. And so by being forced to lie, Batman, who accepts responsibility for these crimes actually committed by Harvey Dent and allows the police to pursue him, Batman is himself becoming a liar and deceiver in order to act as the guardian of Gotham, in order to be the Dark Knight rather than the White Knight, in order to be the protector that Gotham needs.
Well, in a less dramatic context, we see this all the time. For example, most high school students, when they learn elementary physics, are taught the solar system model of the atom, which is inconsistent with modern theoretical physics, but it's a way to give people a starting point. It's considered, you know, good pedagogy.
That's right, and if you apply that to a social scale, you might consider it paternalistic. But, you know, I think particularly if you look at the example in The Dark Knight, you see how necessary that is in certain cases, because you know, the commissioner in that narrative and the Batman were right, that if people had been told the truth, they would have been completely devastated and crushed. Whereas the lie holds open the hope of justice.
You see a similar example in shamanism. Shamans are well known as tricksters. They have a whole bag of illusions and magic tricks, but oftentimes, I think, as a parapsychologist, when a person is in a state of awe because they believe they've seen something miraculous, they enter into what we would call a psi-conducive state, which actually facilitates authentic healing.
That's right, and you know, shaman use masks, and they play with gender differentiation in their costumes and totemic symbols that they use in their ceremonies and so forth. And you see all of this also in the character of the Joker, who sort of has a mask engraved into his face and dresses up as a woman, you know, repeatedly. And you also see it in the Batman. I mean, the Batman is a shamanic totem. He is a totemic figure.
So, in other words, the bat image is one that strikes fear in the heart of people, but he's really the good guy.
Yeah, he's a shapeshifter. He's a shamanic shapeshifter. And I would argue also a trickster. So the question is, again, as in the case of the guardians of the ideal state and the people manipulating the mock-ups inside the cave, what's the difference? What's the difference between Batman, the noble liar, and the Joker?